it wasn't easy. I was born, I'm Canadian-born, New Brunswick, Canada. And my father was an American. And at a very young age, I guess I was probably 5 or 6 years old, we moved across the river into Maine, which is Fort Kent, Maine. This is the way I was brought up. At a very young age, I never had the chance to go to high school. Like I mentioned before, we moved around quite a bit from one school to the other. So I finally made it to the 8th grade in Augusta, Maine. And I just hung around for a couple of years, and I turned 18. And back then, our government had these big photos of Uncle Sam, and with a finger pointing down, we need you. So I enlisted into the Air Force. Then it was Army Air Force. This general, as a matter of fact, General Chenault, was Air Force general, and he wanted his own Air Force. And finally, he fought a lot for it, and he did get his Air Force. Since I had enlisted before the war, I had a choice to go into the regular Army or Air Force. I choose Air Force. And it was a good education. I didn't have just the 8th grade education, and I admire the things that you people have today to learn different things as you grow up in life. And the Air Force, it was October, I was sworn in October the 28th, 1941. And it wasn't too long after that, I was going through training, which they call basic training in the service. And being a little guy, I was always being pushed around. I had to learn to survive, and I did that very well. And as a matter of fact, the smallest uniform they had was a little too big for me. So you can imagine a little guy like myself, what you have to go through to survive in life. And I was very proud, even though I was Canadian-born. My father was born in Maine, and President Roosevelt took office, and he promised the Americans living in Canada, if they would come home now in the United States, they would save their citizenship. My father never took part in politics, and he had an honest person, always worked hard in the woods, and we had a very large family, and there was very little food, but we survived. I guess it was good in many ways. I wouldn't recommend that today. It just wouldn't be able to survive. You just had your bloodline, and being so proud and being so small. Sometimes my pride would get in the way, my way, and I had to learn to back off. I got into a few little fights along the way, and being a teenager, I think it's normal. If you don't have a fist fight every now and then, well, back in those days, you more or less had to have a fist fight, and after that you became a man. And I had a lot of fun with it. I was born, like I said before, honest, caring people, and the only difference was without an education, they didn't know, when a child, after he starts to reach for something, he doesn't know if it's right or left. I started reaching with my left, and I became a lefty. My parents didn't know the difference, to take it away from my left hand and put it in my right hand. And that was awfully hard to live with. Especially when I was in grade school, and the teacher would call me to go to the bulletin board and simple addition or something like that. And I'd have to use my left hand, and I would have to turn to where I could be seen. And the kids in class, they would make fun of it. And I grew up with that guilt, and especially when I was in the service. And then I also recognized the fact that A lot of time, somebody would say, "Hey, Frenchie, give me a hand with your left hand." I can remember an officer said to me, he says, "You know, you're so gifted. I was watching you work, and I guess I was working on my Jeep or something. I really don't remember exactly working on my Jeep." He says, "You're working with both hands." And I stopped for a minute, and I had goose pimples. And I could sit on myself. He's right. If it has to be done with the right hand, my right hand does it. If it has to be done with the left side, my left hand would take over. And I grew up thinking about that. And, throughout the war in the South Pacific, I didn't see any combat. They call it combat because any time a Japanese Zero could sneak into our area and shoot you down, so it was combat. And eventually I ended up in Australia just before World War II taking place. Being the type of a person that I was, this base that I was stationed in was Fort Benning, Georgia, and the government took over some of the land on that base and made an Air Force landing base out of it. And again, I wanted to do something. So I guess they figured, might as well give this kid what he wants because he's going to be in trouble anyway. My job was to help these young guys that went through paratrooper training, and it was very, very hard. I used to watch them jump out of those towers and everything. And my job was, in my transport, that you watch them. There's a signal, they stand up, and the first guy stand there, and I would look at him and give him the okay, that he was okay to bail out. And the guy behind him would tap him on the shoulder and check all his equipment, the parachute straps and everything, and he would tap him on the shoulder and he would jump out. Now, my job was, and I was trained for that, is that I could tell if he was going to freeze. In other words, he would go like this with his hands, and you knew that was a signal that he didn't want to jump, he was scared. My job was to be a nice guy and talk to him, grab him, and throw him out. And at first, I didn't want to do it, but the job was given to me. And again, being the type of a person, you give me a job and it's going to get done.